The April 13th meeting of the Orleans Fire Rescue Building Committee. And if anyone wishes to join via Zoom or via phone, if you look at the agenda on the town website, it has the connection information. I'm going to call the meeting to order. In attendance from my left to right, we have Fire Chief Jeff Deering, DPW Director Rich Waldo, Peter Canine, Rick C. I'm David Little. I don't know if Mark Matheson, our Select Board Liaison, is coming. OES Representative Kathy McNamara, Emily Miller, Assistant Town Manager Mark Reel, and Executive Assistant Laura St. John Dupuy. The first order of business is public comment. Do we have any public comment? Okay, seeing none, I think we'll turn it over to Ted Galante for the presentation for this evening.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. Happy to be here again. So we have a lot to talk about tonight. Can I ask for the lights so we can see the screen a little better? We have a lot to talk about tonight. And we've been developing quite a bit. There's many things to report on. What I'll say is, as with other presentations, we are still in process. So this is still draft and not final. And so whatever we talk about is still in process. So one thing that I'll start with, Rick Pomeroy, by the way, is not available today, but we've been in touch with him. He's taken a little break, but we were on a call with him this morning working on a few things. So he's up to date and knows what's happening on the project. We had the geotech work going on site. Rich was very helpful to navigate what was happening on site, and the chief and the dentist were allowing that to happen. So the results came back. We have a very preliminary result. We don't have a final result. But the result of the borings are generally favorable. I'm reading a little bit from the geotechnical engineer, John Erickson of McPhail. We've confirmed that natural soil is located at the level that will facilitate a foundation using conventional footings. So that's really good news, right? Because we didn't budget for anything but conventional footings because we didn't know what was going to be happening. So we budgeted for conventional footings, and it looks like we have conventional footings. So that's good news. And slab on grade construction. So pretty straightforward construction. There are some layers of miscellaneous fill that might have to be removed. And then it goes on to talk about a lot of the things we talked about earlier, which are phasing and how we build the earth up and all of that sort of thing. But preliminary report from Geotech is favorable overall, conventional footings and slab work. So that's good news. Okay, so I just wanted to start with that sort of as an update. And so what we're going to talk about tonight are a definition of net zero, as I'm sure a lot of people have talked about. We think we have a way of isolating it down and making it really clear. So we're going to talk about that. Talk a little bit about site conditions, because there's been some consideration about how the site comes together. We've issued updated building floor plans. Pardon me. And we have a meeting with Chief Deering tomorrow to review some of those floor plans. There are some minor modifications, maybe some general conceptual big things, and then we're going to work on some of the smaller things. We're going to talk about conceptual massing today and schedule. And what didn't make it into the table of contents is we have a conceptual draft budget to talk about. So there's a lot. I think, given that we have a meeting today and Wednesday with the select board, we'd love to start getting a refined direction from everyone and some clear decisions so we can move the project forward into the next phases. So that's just sort of a where we are. So net zero. Net zero is employing renewable energy sources on site to offset all energy used on site, right? So whatever energy gets used is replaced by renewable energy on site. Could be geothermal, could be solar, could be any number of different power sources that are generated on site, right? So that's the working definition that we believe is the simplest and clearest and easiest to communicate and socialize. I would say that's the way to put it. Site conditions. We've talked a lot about the site, and the site is a complex. There's some complexities that we've gone over, but we know that the elementary school is here. Right, it's the overall sort of property that we're looking at. The elementary school is here. The current dental practice is there. There's a little section of the adjacent dental practice that we're talking about tonight. There is the existing fire station. The existing access road is a little grayed out here, but it's on the Nauset Field side. The access road to OES is here. If we abstract that a little bit, we are... you can get a sense of what all those pieces I was just talking about, but we're going to focus on just what's in that red box, right? We're not going to work outside of that red box tonight, and that we believe that is our present focus. And so you'll notice on the site plan that I show you, the proposed site plan, there'll be some slightly different things. This is the existing site plan made into a digital model. This is section number 4, 3, 2, 1, and those numbers are important later because we really try and organize everything around those simple things. So we're cutting sections through the existing building. We know that there's a deep recess here that it comes back uphill over here out toward the fields. We've got some undulating terrain here. This flattens out, dips down, and then there's a little bit higher over here, et cetera, across the board. So if we look at the existing site sections, we see the existing building. This is really down at the lower apparatus level. The higher apparatus, the ambulance bays, are up top over there, and then the surface contours along. Section number 3, we're in front of the building. Section number 2, we're in the rear of the dental office. Section number 1, we're at the right at the front of the, near Eldridge. Just to kind of give you the lay of the land. We started to study the site from east to west. What does that mean? That means that on the east, we have the existing access road and exit road from the existing fire station. And if we maintain that access road but raise it the way we've been talking about, we will need a retaining wall. Our new parcel of land, the other side of the property to the west, is this dashed line right here. That's the property line. We have an access road on the west side that we drive in, drive around, and drive back out the opposite side, right? So that's nice and clear. Note that all the OES discussion that was happening on this side of the of other dental office is no longer happening. We're maintaining access and egress only on what we're going to call the new site. So we have that access road. We have parking in the back for 45. We have parking in the front for 15. Handicapped access pots. We have to have a good dialogue and internal discussion about electric vehicle parking. There are requirements for that. We're not showing them now, but that'll be part of the discussion. We start to see that the apron and the access road on this side are one curb cut as opposed to what they were before, 2 curb cuts. We have to confirm this with Chief Daring, but we're showing 4 bays that pretty much get you directly out. This is an ambulance bay that we believe has got enough turning radius, but that is subject to confirmation with the chief once we get through that discussion. We still have the vehicles leaving on the outside, heading that way. The tower is still on this side, and the entrance, most importantly, I suppose, is on the front of the building. So facing Eldridge Parkway, we currently have an entrance and we have a firehouse, and so it all is addressing Eldridge Parkway directly. When we keep the site development to the east with a retaining wall on that side, we would have to add the retaining wall, which may have some impact on Nauset Field. There's the possibility, we haven't settled this is in discussion with our civil engineer, of using that portion of the site for the septic. Civil, in an email that I have in front of me, I won't read it, but raises a number of questions and concerns and thoughts about that. Septic often has some venting and things that we have to look at. There's some topography over here that we just learned because we just got the new updated site plan. There's some topography up here that we're going to have to navigate. And so we're starting to say, okay, that's one possibility. We're not going to show you tonight, but what we studied was moving the entire site development sequentially west by every 10 feet or so, right? And so what we were trying to do was, how do we eliminate the retaining wall and maybe we work back here? This is the version of that, right? So again, just quick back and forth. Septic moves up to the top left. The retaining wall goes away, and we grade that, which I'll show you in a second, and the parking ends up kissing the property line on that side, right? So if I go back, the access drive is further away. If I go forward, the access drive is closer. The other things this impacts that I didn't point out, but I'm going to point out now is this red line is a zoning setback line. And so you see how the building is now, we're over the zoning setback on this side. So there will be some need to get in front of the zoning board if we are going to build on that side. If we build all the way to the left, right? If we move the entire parcel all the way to the left, the development on the parcel all the way to the west side, the building is well inside of the zoning setback. There are incremental differences. There are 3 other studies that we did, but we don't want to go exploring into that too far. And I think I actually went ahead of myself, but let's just, building development there and there are the 2 things that we're thinking about. Putting the septic back here makes a lot of sense. It does impact the phasing question. Rich has been asking us for an elevation out of the building so that we can give him, so he can start to plan some future stuff. We're still working on that question because we're still working on some thoughts about septic. And I'm going too far ahead, but you can see if we put the septic over here, it might be an easier lift for phasing, and the phasing might get a little easier because if you recall, we're going to have some sheet piling back here in order to keep the existing building operational. So we have yet to subject this to the phasing, construction phasing analysis, but it's part of the discussion. If we then take that to net zero planning, we start to think about having the building covered with photovoltaic panels, photovoltaic panels, PV, solar panels. That all means the same thing, right? Using the roof to capture the sun to generate electricity. And so this is a PV array on the roof of the building, and this is a PV array, solar canopy over the parking in the back, right? I think there are people in the room that are going to say, well, how much electricity are we generating? And the answer is, we don't know yet. The other piece that I'll point out is if the septic is over here, that leaves us some room for potential geothermal wells. Again, net zero being energy that you produce on site through geothermal wells and photovoltaic panels to use to offset the energy used within the building. And so that's kind of the idea here, the concept of these sketches. This is the same concept by moving the development all the way over to the west. Septic ends up back here. The geothermal wells end up underneath the parking, which is perfectly doable. There are other questions on the table about net zero and geothermal, about using vertical wells versus horizontal wells. We have not answered that question yet. We have a lot of work to do in that analysis. This is, if the building is to the east, this is now the proposed site. So this is an outline of one of the building types that you saw. Close to Eldridge Parkway, we have the new leveled site. We have one access road, the other access road, we have a retaining wall on this side, and these are Nauset fields, right? So that's sort of an illustration of how that all comes together. This is going back a little bit further into the building. It's a little bit deeper over there. I think this is getting close to behind the building, and that's in the parking lot, right? So the access road, the retaining wall. If we look at moving the site to the west, we can lose the retaining wall and have a slope. We believe we can slope the land and not have to build a retaining wall. So there are more than these factors, but septic is going to come into discussion. Retaining wall or not is going to come into discussion. Access, zoning, all of those things are part of the site discussion that we as a group need to work through and wrestle with. I'll keep going and then we can revisit any of this. Building plans, what we have developed here are the first floor plans. All of the area in red is known as the hot zone. This goes to clean fire station design, right? So all the areas in red are what are called the hot zone. We separate those by a yellow, a transition zone, so that the firefighters can live healthy in the green zone, right? So what you're seeing here is entrance at the front of the building, a vestibule with a secure drop-off and a restroom. I won't go through the whole plan, but there's a lobby, and the lobby gives you access to a few different areas, as well as eyes on the street, so that if people park on the side, we will use landscape and such to guide them right toward the front. But if they're driving on Eldridge, they'll fundamentally see the front, and we'll design the front so that it is welcome and inviting. Fire, the apparatus bays are here, onto the apron that way. Apparatus bays in the back onto the apron to go out that way or to go out that way. The living quarters are here, all on the same floor, which is what the chief would like, to get easy access to the apparatus bays, and then day room and kitchen and fitness room up top. Second floor, we have command staff and training and all kinds of things up in that area. There's a mezzanine that leads to a training tower on that side and looks over the apparatus bays. So those are the overall floor plans without going into too much detail. I think there's going to be a couple of changes once the chief just got these the other day, and we need to spend some time together. Conceptual massing. Excuse me. Conceptual massing. We're starting to think through what the building might look like, what the scale and such might be, and you'll start to see some of your comments influence what we're doing, right? So this is the net zero version where we have the solar panels on the flat roofs all around. We're starting to show concepts of rooftop units. We don't know how big they are. We don't want them visible from the street, so we're working on some of that. We're starting to define building type, right? This is sort of one building. It's residential and office, where visitors would go. So it's more pedestrian in scale, trying to be inviting and announce entry in some way, versus large vehicle exit, and there'll be green space that divides the two and such. You'll also start to see, I forget exactly who was talking about this, but the fields were over here, and the scale of the fields influencing this side of the building, which I think was a really great point. And so you'll start to see windows inside of some kind of masonry recesses. Maybe it's a window, maybe it's a recess, a window, recess, window, etc. Training tower here. These are training windows for putting up ladders and rappelling out and such, and we can talk about all that. But we're starting to think roughly about this being a masonry building, perhaps, this being a wood-clad building in some way, and this being a smaller volume to separate it. So the massing is not one giant building, but three smaller buildings in a way. That's how we're starting to conceptualize it. If we start to look at the rear of the building, when we park on this side, we would be seeing what are the bunk rooms on this side. If the plan lays out that way, stays that way. If fitness is over here. There's there's a break area outside. Parking would be along here, an entrance into the front. So you see a little canopy here to start to identify that as a place to go. Rear vehicles exiting that way and training tower on that side. A big roof with a lot of photovoltaic solar panels. We have to think about what that is. Kind of the eye level view of what you'd see from the street, right? So we're just trying to give a sense of what the scale of this thing would look like. And once we, as a group, decide the direction of the massing, we would develop these in a much more clear way with materials and color and tone and all that stuff. But this is just kind of a conceptual massing. A few weeks ago, we talked about the two gables concept, which is another version of that. We're using many of the same architectural moves to kind of keep this discussion simple and clear. Once we select one of these options, one of these concepts, we would develop it in its own way, and some of the windows might change, some of the smaller gestures might change, but making this about people and this about trucks is something that I think will not change, right? We want to try and keep that clear. We're thinking about solar on one side of the roof and the other roof within the kind of valley that's created between the two, right? So you have morning sun and afternoon sun capturing, as opposed to us seeing all the solar. If I go back to, well, actually, if I go to here, we don't see solar on this roof, but we do see it on here. So there's still communication to the wider public that Orleans is a net zero town, is a sustainable town, but it's not covered in solar panels because this is equipment that you will see, and depending on your point of view, solar panels are not always pretty. A third version that we're looking at is Clear Story, and we sort of have offset the roof height, so we have a lower roof and a higher roof. We have some work to do on how to get this to work out, but maybe there's a way of bringing sunlight into some of the other spaces, morning light and afternoon light into the apparatus bay, this would have some impact on the floor plan. So we haven't worked this one out entirely, but we're starting to look at the scale, shape, and configuration of the building and how they're impacted, how they impact the site overall. Again, street view. And so Net Zero, Two Gables, and Clear Story. We did talk last time about another version that was kind of hybrid between Two Gables and Net Zero. I think we called it transitional. We just didn't get a chance to develop it for this discussion. So that's kind of the overall design presentation. We think a lot about schedule, and we want to make sure that we stay on schedule, and that there's a lot of work that happens after this phase. There's 3 months of schematic design where we dial in on one of these and really start to answer many of the questions that are currently floating around, and that's sort of the design development phase. The schematic design phase. Design development is where the engineers really start to size equipment and do some calculating and get things, really refined. That's a 4-month process. So, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, we really got quite a bit to go here. And we've got to put together a good set of construction documents, a few months of bidding and negotiations. So we have there's a lot of work to do for the next 9 to 10 months to pull this together. So that's the overall presentation. Happy to go back to any of it and talk about any of it, but wanted to put that all out there.
Thank you. So hate to put you on the spot, Jeff, but why don't we start off with you and work our way around the table?
Okay. I think overall, I'm excited about the change in the layout of the building, in particular, moving the public entrance to the front of the building. I think that's a huge win, whether it lands right on the front facing or on the left-hand corner. I think we can work through that. Overall, I will say that the floor plans that Ted and his group have worked on overall meet the spirit of what we've been trying to accomplish, which is, number 1, response time, and then 2, health and safety of our staff. There's some details that, again, this is a new version that we need to make some adjustments to. But overall, it's exciting. I'm happy with the product that we've seen so far. I know that's pretty much the level of my comments right at the moment.
Great. Rich?
I really don't have much to say. I mean, I'm happy with the new development plans. I'm happy with the improved site plan pending town meeting approval for the additional land. I like the fact that we're not building right up on a property line anymore. We actually can work a little bit throughout construction to be able to build without bothering the neighboring site. So I like that. I like bringing the entrance to the fire station to the front off of Eldridge. I think that's very important. I think having them go into the back kind of defeats the purpose of us putting a building right on Eldridge. So them being able to enter right into the front, I think that is a positive. In terms of the two shifts, still trying to debate that one, whether to shift west, shift east. You know, we're going through this process to purchase the additional land to add the additional space, and if we shift it west, we're basically losing a portion of that new land that we could have utilized. But at the same time, if we don't have to build a 200-foot wall, I think that's a benefit too. So still going to try to work through that one. I think if we can nail down the septic system versus sewer connection and really start to define whether we need a septic system or not, I think that's going to help answer those questions in terms of the shift east, shift west. So I think incrementally we keep picking apart these challenging things. I guess my only return question to you is, do you see anything of these options that would throw the preliminary budget way out of whack at this point?
No, I think, and I think we have a budget slide at the end of the appendix here. Paulo, is that right? And we have a range in that budget because of all the unknowns. The high end range we're comfortable with. Whatever we can do to tweak it in between is what we want to do once we start making decisions.
Okay, great. And then in terms of massing, I guess my final comment, you know, as much as I'm not a big fan of the flat roof, I still like the look of that the best for me. You know, I just think of that big of a building sitting right at Eldridge Parkway, you know, with high roofs and stuff, it's really going to stand out. So I think if we could keep that volume down a little bit, I think it would help with the neighborhood quite a bit. So
That also
my comments.
That ties to the budget question, Rich.
Peter?
I'm encouraged by the new site plan. I think that goes a long way to taking some of the problems, the real problems that we have here. One question I have is, how big is that canopy in the back?
Right now, we drew it to cover all the parking. I don't know if it'll be that big once it's done. I think that's a great question, Peter. I don't, it's significant right now. I don't think it needs to be that big. What I think we need to spend some time on with our team is what's going to be required from an energy use perspective and how much energy we need to generate. And so that canopy may shrink in size.
I'm going to go back to an original problem that I've had here all along, and that is, I think we're going to have a bit of a PR issue, particularly now that we're making land acquisitions, and which I think have been great. But I think we're going to have to be able to answer the question of how much more is net zero adding to the construction of the building. We're going to get to that question of that we need this desperately. We don't need a net zero building. We do have other options. I think we should be putting solar panels and whatever we can. I mean, it's not hard to figure out the dysfunction in Washington and what's coming for us here. But my problem here is that I think we're going a long way to creating a net zero thing here without the priority of the building coming first. I think there are options here. I mean, we could explore net zero ready, and I'm not exactly sure what that legally takes us to. When I say legally, I mean what's technically understood as as satisfying that. But I think without being able to answer that question, there are going to be an awful lot of people that are potentially going to be negative on this.
I think we have, thank you for that, Peter. I think in the budget, we have some numbers that start to talk about, again, the budget's conceptual, but we have some numbers that talk about the net zero premium, as it were, what the premium might be to make the building net zero. And so we can talk about that in relation to the overall budget. And we can also talk about net zero ready, because we've done that a few times in a few different locations. And if I could just back up to the windows, I think you, Peter, were the one who suggested the windows and the scale of the field. So
did,
thank you.
yes.
Thank you for that suggestion. So,
I think that
Yeah.
works fine,
Yeah.
and that's a problem. that,
Yeah.
you know.
To segue on what Peter just brought up, Ted, perhaps for presentation purposes, that could be called out as a potential additional solar array rather than coming up with,
Yeah, but we need the PV to satisfy the.
we do. We don't know how much PV we need, though.
But it,
I'm talking about the presentation for Wednesday, on Wednesday. We don't have to necessarily show all that. We can call it out as potential additional if needed.
Yep.
That's all.
Yep.
No, it's a great comment.
We went through in Exeter, New Hampshire. We had a flat roof building, police and fire, and we had a PV array, and we had a solar canopy in the back as a potential add-on. So we can do the same sort of idea here. In that case, we're just parking cruisers underneath it. We are adding it because it's a much smaller building and such, but we can certainly make that more of a suggestion that if we need it, we can add it.
Rick?
My comments are going to be, I haven't been here in a couple meetings, so very happy that there's no more shared driveway. That scared me, so this is great. I go back to the septic, and I know Rich talked about it a little bit, because if we move the septic, let's say we have to go with the septic and we can't go with sewer, and we move the septic up that way, I feel like there could be a potential issue or cost or added cost in the future when we do go to sewer, because of the way that the sewer lines will be distributing
Heading
the
that way.
waste out. They'll
Yeah.
be going in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit,
Yeah.
I mean, taking a look at that added costs as opposed to the cost of the wall. I also like the wall because it separates from where kids will be playing to a potentially dangerous area where there'll be emergency vehicles going very fast down. So I like that, having that wall there. The other part was when you have the arrows going out of the back of the building, and you
Yep.
have all that parking there. What keeps people that are parking there or cars that are moving in that back parking lot from getting in the way from a vehicle that's potentially leaving that building in a fast manner?
I think that we have to work out signage and orientation and some of those things. I think that's a valid question. I don't know the answer to that question yet.
Okay.
Can I speak to that for just a second?
And I'm going to switch to
Yeah,
one
could you go
without the
back a
canopy.
couple?
I'm going to go without the canopy.
yeah.
There you go.
Right
Yeah.
So right now, Rick, and again, it's just super preliminary.
Yeah.
We sort of envision the 15 parking spots sort of on the left side of the building. If it will be primarily for day-to-day business at the fire station, public coming in for a permit, blood pressure, those kind of things. We envision the staff to park sort of in the area of the 45. And again, there's 2 shifts that change every morning, so that parking lot will be busy, as well as if there's a training class or something going on, that those parking spots would be used. So there, and then the emergency vehicles that would come out of the back of the building, if you will, primarily would come out of the back of the building, go towards the Nauset Field and out that driveway, where we would direct the public traffic to use the left side of the building. And now, if there's a signage, if there's other mechanisms that we may need to do going forward, but that's sort of how we see it right now, is how that would be used.
And the idea, the layout is such that, this could be curb line and not drivable, right? So this layout was intended for this to be a clear road and not, parking that has to back into this road and then get out. So I think as this develops, And again, this is architects putting the drawings together for the site. We need our civil engineering team to get in and really dive into these questions, and that's what would happen in schematic design.
One other quick question I had was, if you go to the interior and it showed the training up on the, where the,
I'm sorry, which way am I going? I'm just thinking, no, I think I gotta go this way. Yeah, there we go. Sorry.
all right, so you've got the training, and again, this is probably more for Jeff, and that's going to be in a red zone, that's gonna be in a hot zone. Is it typical to have people train in that hot zone?
Yes.
It
Yes.
is? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, much of the functions that we propose that would be completed there would be functions that would be in fire gear, wearing
Okay.
air packs, using hoses, not necessarily with water in them, but tools, those kind of things. So sort of those more dirty operations would be conducted in the mezzanine, in the bays, and towards the training tower, in those evolutions. The medical training, the classroom training, those versions of training would be conducted in the green upstairs in that training room, but those things wouldn't cross.
It's a good use of that space then.
Yeah.
Right, taking dead space and giving it purpose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Kathy?
I guess the one thing, I'm in the camp of, I like the solar panels, but I don't want to see them. So the ones that hang off the front of the, you know, the
Am I going the right way?
living quarters and all
I think I
that.
go this way.
Kind of like the idea of a mixed roof. I mean, the flat roof for the bays, I think is great. I'm wondering if we could do like a different roof line for the living quarters and all that. I also am glad the driveway situation has changed. I think that was going to be kind of a disaster, so.
Making the town did some really great work to get that to once that piece of property was part of the site. It really, so that's really great work by Mike and Mark and others that I don't know, but yeah, I can take no credit for that. That
Yeah,
was really
no,
nice.
I
thing.
know, but
Yeah.
needs to be said, so. But other than that, it looks great. I can't wait to see what's next.
Emily?
One question back to, sorry, is it, so it's under discussion that the sewer might come there before we would need to build a septic? Is that, 'cause it seems like a pretty big fork in the road, right, with this
Yeah,
design?
that area of sewer's not planned to be built for another 20 years, 30
Right.
years. So the thought we would do is, we have two potential ways to serve that area as a whole. I think it's Eldridge Parkway 15 or something like that. The two options would be running along Eldridge Parkway up through Clayton Circle, which would be a low-pressure system, and then the other one be going out through the back through the elementary school via gravity down to 6A at a particular location off of 6A. So we have two potentials there. I think the big thing that we need to work through is, one, what's the cost associated with, advancing sewer for this facility 20 years ahead of what was
So just
planned?
connecting this.
And two, if we did build it, could we build it where it's sized enough to be able to serve the whole area, sewer area itself, 20 years from now, where we could just plug in the rest of the neighborhoods at that point in time? So we're going to evaluate that, and then I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a cost question, a cost differential, whether it's, exorbitantly high to bring a sewer system to this area versus a septic system that has a 20-year, 30-year lifespan, that when it's starting to get to its useful life, sewer will likely be in that neighborhood.
Okay, that's,
So it's kind of difficult at this point in time to design the septic system for a future sewer connection if you don't know if it's going to be down Eldridge Parkway or if it's going to be out the back. Because, now you can design a septic system with the thought of hooking it up to sewer to make it convenient.
Yeah.
And you're talking about two options, Eldridge Parkway or Clayton Circle or,
Well, I think naturally, whatever the building needs to come out the building, or the the invert out of the building. Whatever it is what it is. I think in the future, we'd be able to work with that, whether we do a low-pressure grinder pump to serve that property, to pump it up to a higher head, or if via gravity from whatever side of the building it's on, we'd be able to serve a connection. So I don't find that to be a limiting factor. I think the building designs of what it needs to do, where the plumbing comes, where the plumbing chases come out, where it comes out of the building, just design that, and then we can work with that for sewer now and then, or potentially sewer in the future.
I have a question.
Peter?
Don't we need an easement to go through to make the connection onto Route 6?
Via gravity, yes.
And we do not have that easement?
We don't have that now.
Okay, so we, okay.
So Emily, anything else?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think in general, how high would that wall be, height-wise?
Which wall are you talking
The
about?
retaining walls?
I don't have a number yet. I think it's probably in the 10-foot range.
Okay. I mean, because that strikes me as like a pretty big visual,
In some places, it might be taller. There is a fence line there now between the two properties. There's a little bit of grade sloping too, and a couple of trees. So I think we may be able to do it with fencing
Yeah.
and move the building a little west. It's a question of how far west we go, I think, is
Right.
the question. And I think the nice thing about not having consultants here is that I can put it on them to make this decision. But I would like Rich to continue that pushing on the sewer piece, and as a group continue thinking about the retaining wall piece, because I think Civil will have a lot to say about that, and I don't want to speak out of school and say something that they would have better information about. So, yeah,
okay, so we'll come back to that, I'm sure.
yeah.
And then my only, I really like the look of the net zero design, and I think just considering the size of this building, I agree that like having different roof lines and like trying to make it look like any kind of slant roof residential structure is just like, in my mind, futile. I mean, it's enormous. So I don't know. I think I like the direction that's going. Also, to Peter's point, if we are going to do some calculations like how much is net zero versus not net zero, we also should do or find someone to do the calculation of how much is it going to save us? If we did do the net zero, what are we saving once it's built? Because that's a lot.
We do have those people on our team to be able to do those
Just make
calculations.
sure we do the
Yep.
positive too.
Yep, for sure.
Mark?
All right, so just a couple of points. Would like to just go back to the 0.48 acres we've been referring to in this conversation. You know, as it's been mentioned, the select board and the town manager and Mike Slitro have been doing a lot of long-term work towards the acquisition of the 0.48 acres that really makes this project work well. And I don't know if folks are aware, but we do have an agreement in terms of purchase. And so we're less likely now at this point to be looking at any sort of taking. We have, a purchase agreement. And so really thanks to the collaborative approach of Dr. Chun and Dr. Montoya on that. It's really made this work well. And it's important to note that the dentist's office is going to remain in operation through this process. So we're not purchasing the dentist's office like we did with the other lot. It's going to remain in operation. So I just wanted to point that out. And then in reference to the net zero conversation and the costs, in May of last year at the annual town meeting approved a $5 million bond authorization for 3 solar projects. It looks like we will be under budget by about $2 million, which we could consider and think about the idea that we've pre-authorized solar at $5 million. We're only going to use approximately $3 million, and so you think about that savings and putting that towards this project as a way to consider, the idea that we were going to potentially spend the $5 million. Just keep that in mind as we have these conversations. And to echo Emily's points, I think it's important that we look at the cost savings long-term when we're talking about the implementation of PV versus the kind of that short view of the cost savings on the project originally. So those are my comments. And I would add, the select board has is looking for a net zero project.
Agreed, but a lot of us attended the select board meeting last Wednesday, and it seems that the select board is willing to work with us on what they consider net zero. In other words, by using the stretch code that the town adopted in 2018, and it was just revised with the Mass Building Code, along with the solar arrays and perhaps the geothermal, I don't think we should be held to the standard of completely net zero. I think what we're doing now is huge in that direction and much better than the past two municipal projects that weren't given that charge. So I'm very happy with the fact that staff in the front office was able to accomplish what they did with that extra piece. I mean, this is just, it's been apparent to me from our very first meeting that we needed that, and I'm very, very happy that that's occurred, and it's giving you the flexibility you needed. What I'd like to do, since we're going to be attending the select board meeting on Wednesday, is obviously we want to see the numbers on your final slide, but just to put it out there, I think we're not charged with picking the design, but we are charged with providing a recommendation to the select board, and perhaps this evening, based on what Ted and his team have shown us, let's go into the select board meeting on a unified front and say, this is what we like. It's their call, finally, as we all know, but it would be nice, since it's going to be a public forum, that we leave here tonight with some sort of general consensus for Wednesday. Any thoughts on that?
I don't know that, well, number
You don't think-
one,
You don't think it's necessary?
yeah, I see what you're saying. My thought is, one, we don't have anything on this agenda that suggests we were taking any sort of vote about a direction. And I'm not sure it is necessary at this moment.
But aren't we going to be providing town meeting with plans and elevations and design of the building?
I mean, we're not going to have a final design for town meeting.
It's not going to be pretty hard to go into town meeting and not be able to show them what a schematic design of the fire station might look like?
Yes, but I don't believe right now, today, is we can take a vote on something.
I'm not, I brought it up.
No, and
Because-
I was responding to you.
Okay,
That's all.
so it's up to everybody sitting here, that's all. I just think that at some point, it's our charge to make a recommendation to the select board, and I don't think it's premature to do it before town meeting.
Wouldn't you make a recommendation based upon a conceptual layout, not schematic? Because schematic is, what, 3
Conceptual-
months away?
no, Excuse me, a
So it'd be
conceptual
conceptual.
layout.
Yeah.
I don't think we can show 4 options to the town and ask them to vote a specific number.
Yeah,
That's not feasible.
that's not going to happen.
That's fine. I don't think, don't have it on the agenda today, so that's number one.
It doesn't need to be on the agenda.
If we're going to take a vote on providing a recommendation, then yes, it would need to be on the agenda.
We can make the vote. There's nothing to prevent us from making a vote, because we might not have another meeting. I don't think we're going to be meeting before town meeting. The select board is going to be meeting several times before town meeting, and they will have the opportunity to discuss this. I think it's incumbent upon us to bring something to the town.
If you were to, there is nothing on our agenda that says.
I'm not saying, I'm talking, you mean our agenda tonight?
Yes.
I can't make a motion to choose one?
No, because we're not posted with an agenda item that says we're going
Well,
to.
I'm going to make a motion to do a straw poll then.
Okay, but that would be, we're at risk of violating open meeting law, which I'm not prepared to do.
I didn't realize that the chair couldn't bring up information to discuss. So we're being presented with options that all we can say is, oh, that's nice.
Receive design and architectural project update from Ted Galante Architectural Studios.
Well, perhaps in the future, we could have a little more input with you and Laura when it comes into making these, putting our agenda together then. Because I think, I kind of thought this was our meeting to get ready for the select board meeting on Wednesday, where they're getting ready to go before town meeting, and we're not going to be providing town meeting with a lot of good information. It seems like we're not doing our job. So that being said, I'm just going to leave it there.
I mean, I'm happy to tell you my thoughts. I'm concerned about making a recommendation when we have such a long process ahead of us still to work through. And, if it came down to, if I could make a recommendation on a site, sure, I like the site option that was presented tonight a lot more than the other option of a shared driveway with the elementary school. I mean, I think we all do. It's just, that is still a contingent or a pending vote for town meeting. That might not even be an option for us after May 11th or May 17th or when the election is, or May 18th. So I don't know if I'm ready to make a recommendation. I mean, I thought the thought of going into town meeting was that we have a long public process ahead of us, get some input from the public on what the building's going to look like, what the roof line's going to look like. And as much as this is a public meeting, I think as we go through this process, more information is going to be out there, and we should give a chance to abutters to be able to weigh in on what the roof line looks like, give the abutters a chance to look at what kind of material. So I'm supportive of making some sort of definitive, but not too far where we restrict our ability to get public feedback into what they want, just because we feel
Well, that
pressure
being
for
said,
town
I would like Ted to go to the final slide and talk money, because this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
We do that, Ted?
Absolutely. Where is the budget slide? Is it one of the other slides?
Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah, go there, yeah. It's the second one.
Thank you. Control L.
Yeah.
And-
For full screen, yeah.
Okay. So this is going to be tricky to read. I don't know if I can I zoom in on this machine? Oh, look at that, I can. Okay, so I'll zoom in further in a second, but just so you get a sense, there's the low-end cost, the high-end cost, and I want to note that this is a draft project development budget, right? So it's not only the construction cost, but it's all the costs involved. And so low and high, right? So let's see, there we go, zooming. Ooh, okay. So this is Rick Pomeroy's budget, by the way, so just to kind of put it in context. It's working off of the Ilana cost estimators budget, the Ilana cost estimators budget from when we were doing the site analysis to determine two-story or three-story. This is based on the two-story building. And so if we start talking about the low end of just the building, as if it didn't have a site or anything else, we're in the 31.5 million for just the building, 34.8 for the building. Site development work, 7.3 million to $8 million for site development. $1 million for site complexity, $300,000 for project phasing premium. We're carrying an $800,000 net zero premium, meaning photovoltaics, geothermal, all that kind of stuff. We're carrying so that gets us to roughly 40 million, 41 million, and 45 million on the rounding up a little bit for a subtotal. If we carry an escalation to the midpoint of construction, which is December of 27, at 4.5% per year, I think it's like 8.4 total, we end up with a a low-end hard cost only, 44 million to 49 million, right? So that's a hard cost only. Hard cost is we now have a building standing there, right? But then there's all the site development costs, the owner's development costs, soft costs. So you have A&E fees, the architect and design fees. It's a 10 to 12% of the hard cost. You have project managers' fees. This is for the feasibility study, 97 million, 98 million. You have the owner's project manager through construction at 3.5 to 4%. We have some geotech in our fee. We have geotechnical construction administration. There's going to be somebody on site looking at all the soil being put in place. The topographic land survey, that's a number that we're working on, 20,000 to 25,000. Permitting, zoning, all that sort of information, another 15 to 20. Commissioning agent, somebody to make sure all the machines turn on and function and test and such. Cost estimators during the process. Let's see, there we go. Fire station alerting system is in there. Firematic equipment is in there. Miscellaneous fire equipment that we have to talk about yet. We haven't designed and figured out. We're going to have a vehicle extraction exhaust system that's in the hard cost of above. Furniture and furnishings, somewhere in the 300 to 330. We don't know the details of that yet. Phone and data system, audio visual system, computer equipment, communications and radio. Maybe there's a communications tower. We're carrying some money for that because we don't know the details of that yet. There's back charges from the utility. There's bidding expenses to get the project out to bid, materials testing, somebody to come and look at the concrete and perform what's called a slump test and things like that. And so soft costs are in the $8 to $10 million range. There's a little bit of a soft cost escalation factor, another 5%. And then there's an owner's contingency, keeping some money in the town's pocket to pay for inevitable changes that happen during construction because that's the way Chapter 149 and 149A are set up. And so we're talking about a low end number in the 52, 53 million and a high end number in the 59 to 60 million of total project cost, right? The caveat here is we haven't designed the building yet. We haven't designed the site yet. There's a lot of work that we have to do. The pitched roof will have a different cost implication than a flat roof, things of that nature. I'm comfortable with the high number. Rick is comfortable with the high number. I think I can speak for Rick and say that. The 60 million feels like we're going to be fine. It's what happens and how do we tighten up the numbers as the design tightens up. Is there a 250-foot long retaining wall? Are we able to slope it? Is there a septic on the left? Is the septic in the rear? How do we plan for a future sewer connection? Those are questions that we have to unpack. That'll take some time to unpack.
Let me
in the
throw
next
one more
phases.
question at you. When you showed us a very tight timeline for your schematics. When do you need a direction from the select board as to the building you're designing?
Very soon. So I would say right after town meeting, we need to have a good, clear direction.
I would expect so.
And start to be able to move forward so it's not, the schedule is workable. I think we can manage it. I think the select board can get us some direction. And I think there is some community input that we would need to go through. What we don't want to do is design a building one way and then the community says, hold on, we haven't got a chance to say it, and then we have to redesign it, right? We don't want to put anybody in that position.
Exactly. So when the thought was just brought up that we need to do outreach to show the town different concepts to vote on, I don't think that's in your schedule. Is it?
I think I've always been of the belief that at the after town meeting, we're then going to hone in on one and focus on that. But
I was under that impression myself.
I can't speak to how the town handles town meeting and community outreach. In our experience, we've been able to present options to the community and show them a general range and explain the pros and cons, and I'm comfortable doing that. and allow the community to become part of the process. So I'm okay going in with 3 options to the town meeting and saying, here's the general direction we're going. Would I like it to be simple, just clean, let's do this and go? Yes. But I have enough tire marks on my back that we need to go in with some options and have some community feedback before we close that door. So I'd say.
Thank you. Comments, anybody?
I'm just a little confused. So what is the plan for town meeting? Like, all right, are options being presented at the town meeting for fire stations? And,
I think we're going to find out a lot more on Wednesday.
okay,
I don't think we really know that yet. But before we leave this evening, I would at least like to hear which option each one of you likes that you've seen on the screen. I don't think that's outside of the open meeting law rules, is it, Mark?
No, I think it's discussion about your update you've received.
Yeah,
Are we good with the budget? Do I need to go back to the other presentation?
please.
Boy, the tech savviness today is so much better than last time I was here.
Getting the hang of it.
Thank you to Paulo for, okay, I'll leave it at the massing summary slide.
So at town meeting, I believe it was last year, the town voted down the specialized energy code, did we not? So I think we understand where the voters of the town are on the net zero portion of it. I think it's, to me, it's got to be a common sense thing that we work toward. Any comments from anybody?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, yeah.
I'll just make a comment. So the definition of net zero that Ted has presented to you, is that what you're referring to? That you think that's a good definition?
He's the registered architect.
Yeah. No, I'm just asking, so because that is the definition that I know, I've spoken to 3 members at least of the select board that agree with that. That the idea is, let's look at net zero as producing clean energy on site that meets the needs of the building for future cost savings, right? Like, that's what the idea is to work towards. So I think that makes sense. You know, there's other incentives that exist through Cape Light Compact that can also help to mitigate costs related to,
Those have not been calculated into the
Right.
budget. Thank you,
Right.
Mark, that's important.
so there's, those conversations have been happening with Cape Light Compact as well, just to keep that in mind.
also just, I would not, let's not assume that because the town voted down the specialized energy code, they won't agree with this being a net zero project.
Oh, I didn't mean it that way. I
Oh,
just
okay.
meant that we did not vote the specialized energy code in, otherwise
Right.
it would be a net
Oh,
zero
okay,
project.
oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, I thought you meant like that was the
No,
temperature.
we're
of the
not,
town.
we're not
Okay,
emboldened, we're not held to that standard.
right. But isn't the charge from the charge from the select board is that standard though, right? Or,
Meph Runyon at the meeting was kind of vague about what his opinion of net zero was. I mean, you were there.
I heard, yes.
One of the board members I spoke to about their idea of net zero was matching what was presented tonight.
Okay, everybody.
Okay, one more question. Do you have a slide of that transitional one that a lot of people liked
I
last
do
time?
not have it with us tonight. No, I don't have it with us
Because I
tonight.
seem to remember people liked that one, but,
The 2 gables and the transitional one were the 2, I think that and the net zero were the ones that people liked. I don't have
Okay.
the transitional, but.
I guess I don't have anything, you've heard everything I have to say. I just find this a little bit too much for the annual town meeting. I don't think we're doing our job.
I would say that after Wednesday, we're also going to get some feedback from the select board. And so that will help, I think, this committee as well, moving forward. It'd be good to listen to what have to say.
It's their purview. All they're entitled to is our recommendation. They can say whatever they want. It's in our charge to provide them with a recommendation that we're not doing before this Wednesday, unfortunately.
And I can tell you, the select board is not anticipating a recommendation from this committee for Wednesday.
Okay.
So I guess another question is, do we want to meet after the select board meeting and then before town meeting to kind of have a better sense of what we want to go into town meeting with? I mean, would that help you? I mean, I know you really want to nail down what the project is for the voters, and I can understand that, and I can support that. I mean, I understand that. I don't think I feel comfortable making any decisions right now, at least until we get comments back from the select board.
I understand that, but what's awkward, and I probably shouldn't even say this, you're not a town resident. You're not a town resident. We're the ones that have been going to town meeting for 40 years and seeing the process and seeing what happens. And you know, from day one, when you voted me to be chair, I thought we were pushing the envelope to get this in for the Maytown meeting, and kind of coming to the same realization now that we've had, I think don't get me wrong, Ted, what you've done is awesome.
Thank you.
It is spectacular.
Thank you.
And the way that everything's coming together is spectacular. But I'm just concerned. Maybe another meeting is important. That's up to the board. I'm not gonna,
No, I share your concern. I think I'm comfortable enough with the schematic and how far we've taken the schematic to know that wherever we go from this point forward, it's not going to be a drastic change. There are going to be some finite details that we got to work out, but I think the chief has worked very closely with this team to come up with a floor layout that works for him. We've kind of batted around site options for, several weeks. We've now been battling out the massings for a couple of weeks. So I think for enough to go into town meeting, I think we know enough what this project is going to look like.
well, but we don't.
We don't know
We
what
don't,
the
and I've
volume and the,
moderated 8 town meetings, and I can tell you, if you show 3 things up on there, it's gonna get a little crazy.
but I think the point of going into this town meeting is to just be clear with them that this project is not 100% defined.
Okay.
What we're asking, at least, last time I heard from the select board was they're looking for the authorization that the support for the fire station project is there and we can move this fire station project forward. But I don't think we're ever trying to tell anyone that this plan is ready to go out to bid yet. We have a lot of things we got to work through.
Agreed.
And, and this project's got a lot of challenge. I mean, we already know the site challenges that we have, and I think we worked through those. I just, I don't want to rush to a decision without value engineering the design, making.
This has nothing to do with value engineering. Value engineering isn't even gonna begin until
Yeah, that's way down the road.
he's
But
designed the whole building.
If I could speak to that, all of that for a second, I think one of the things that we have to realize is just 2 weeks ago, it was just defined that we're using the dentist site, the 0.48 acres. So it was just 2 weeks ago. And so you guys wouldn't be doing your job and we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't look at the implications of that for the site development, moving east to west and all of those things. And the questions that you've all been asking about, are we putting PV on the outbuilding? Are we putting a solar canopy? Is the septic, and how does that impact long-term sewer? Like, I think you are doing what I would say is a yeoman's effort to get all those questions asked and figured out now. But one could argue that we're doing it in a very fast-changing dynamic, right? I think the site really was just defined, and the day that the site was defined, we were all starting to work on it. And I think by studying the site, moving the development around allows us all to ask these questions I'd be very comfortable making a recommendation saying, I think this is the way we should go. But without going through this set of iterations, I don't think we can do that just yet. And I think the buildings are very similar. It is really just the roof line that we're talking about once Chief Daring, we confirm the floor plan. But I can't speak to your experience at town meeting. And so again, I'm comfortable going in there with a few saying, we're looking, we want to bring the community in now. But we know where the dollars are headed. We have an understanding of the site. We've landed a certain amount of the plane. Now we have to unpack more of it. Don't know if that helps at all.
Can I ask a quick question? The May meeting is to present a number, right? And get approval from the town to spend a certain amount of money to build this building that they need,
Up to a certain amount, yep.
up to a certain amount. All three of these options fall within that value.
Yes.
Okay.
But did you not say that the flat roofed option was less expensive?
Yes.
Right out of the gate?
Yes, it is. It is. But I, the double peak is probably the most expensive, the double gable, because there's more volume, more space, equipment, et cetera. But it's within that 60 million, and then we're spending less if we go to the net zero flat roof option. And maybe that will become an important discussion with the community as we get there. That's the beginning of value engineering in a way. Yeah.
Okay, I'm on board.
I think what's also important, if I may, Mr. Chair,
Please.
oh, thank you, is, talking about, and especially hearing from Chief Deering about what this program gets the community, right? What are the operational benefits to the floor plan as presented, the bays and where we're situated on the site? Really honing in on that piece of it too, because we're really in a very clear place there, and so that's something we're going to be focusing a lot on in these presentations and conversations is what does this get us in terms of the program? So I just want to point that out.
Right, and within balancing that with, as taxpayers, how is it going to impact our taxes? So I think that's the concern, I think, that I keep hearing is that what is this going to do to my taxes? I mean, we all need it, we all know it,
Right.
but how do we balance the two so it's not driving people out of town because their taxes are being pushed so high, which I've also heard is a concern.
Right.
From people saying, I'm gonna have to move because my taxes just keep going up and up and up and up, and I can't afford it, with the need of the fire department, which benefits the town. So I think the whole thing, it's gonna be a long town meeting.
And explaining through this next month or so, trying to explain clearly, because I don't think, well, I know it hasn't happened yet, right? Having the conversation about what's behind the number. Where do these numbers come from? What are the cost drivers? The complexities of
Yeah.
the site are driving a lot of that cost differential that we had been talking about a $50 million number. We're looking at 60 as the high end, right? So where does that come from? It's not just something that has been pulled out of nowhere. So those conversations are starting this week, right? And so explaining that clearly to voters is what we're focused on.
Anything else? Ted, anything else?
I think I'm okay. I think I saw this as an update today, here's where we are, given the range of information that's happening. I think there'll be some minor changes to the building, probably not for Wednesday, but I think we're meeting with the chief tomorrow to go over some of the interiors, and so probably soon after Wednesday, there'll be some changes to the floor plan and maybe to the massing. But our intent is to go into Wednesday with an update of where we've been, where we are now, and listen to what the select board has to say and get ready for town meeting. So that's our marching order.
Great.
So if I can add one more piece, can we not lose sight of the traditional concept just as a massing? I don't think we need it for Wednesday, but I think in the future we'd like to kind of completely rule that out because, like you brought up, I mean, it was one that was favorable where it actually had roof peaks over the, let's call it the green zone. and it was flat roof over the red zone, so it's a little mix of both. We don't have that up there, and I'd like to see what that looks like. in
We
the
could certainly pull that back in, certainly not for Wednesday. Our team has been working very hard. They're actually working right now, trying to get ready for Wednesday. But certainly, Rich, we can bring that back in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Paolo, anything from you?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. So I guess we're gonna move on and review some previous meeting minutes, and then, so I thank you very much, Ted.
Thank you all very much.
And
This is,
I wish you all the luck on Wednesday. We'll see you there.
thank you. This is a,
Hopefully, they'll put you on the agenda fairly early.
thank you,
Right
Gail.
after public comment.
Okay, thank you again. So, vote to approve meeting minutes.
Sorry, we have one question.
Oh, sorry,
Paolo, come to the
Paolo.
mic- You have
Yes.
to come to the microphone.
Actually, yeah,
Paolo.
one question, since we
You have to come to the microphone. So people at home can hear you.
Since we talked about the possibility of meeting again before town meeting, was that ruled out, or?
Yeah, the when would be the question.
Yes.
After we approve minutes is upcoming meeting dates. If we want to do that. Set a future meeting, so it's
Okay,
after.
can you let us quickly go through approving the
sure.
minutes, and then we'll discuss
Yep.
that?
That's great, thank you.
Okay, the minutes of 12:15:25, comments or corrections? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for 12:15:25?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain. I wasn't there.
Kathy's abstaining. Okay. The minutes for 1/12/26. Comments or corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 12th, 2026.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. The minutes for 3/2/26.
I wasn't listed as absent. 3-2?
3/2. And that, anything else?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 2nd, 2026 as amended.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and the minutes for 3/23/26.
I have one correction.
Okay?
Line 39. I did not state that I was the chair of the select board. I didn't have time to go back and look and see who said it, but my guess is that it was Kevin Gallagher who spoke that, so. Oh, that's,
Anything else? Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of March 23rd, 2026 as amended.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay, upcoming meeting dates. I'll stand down from my concern about the town meeting presentation, so it's up to the other commissioners if they, or the other board members, if they feel that it would be nice to have a consensus to provide to the select board prior to town meeting. Since it's our charge, would you like to have another meeting? And if so, what's your schedule like, Rick?
I'd like the first Monday in May. That'd be nice. If that works for everybody else.
I could do that.
It'll be a short meeting.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Asked to do anything at town meeting?
We don't know yet.
Out on Wednesday.
I do think it definitely makes sense for this committee to meet between now and town meeting.
Okay, so can I have a motion to meet the first Monday in May?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.